I didn't really like poetry when I was in high school because teachers, in my opinion, made us read poetry that we had to interpret, and I didn't know what the writer was trying to write, and it was really kind of symbolic of, seas at, ships at sea and leaves falling and who knows. Edgar Allan Poe was cool because you knew to be scared when you read his stuff. But I didn't really particularly care for poetry until my senior year in high school. When we studied Shakespeare. And what gave me the encouragement was a poem that I wrote called Sonnet for a High School Senior. And I was in honors English for some reason. I think it was a mistake. But anyway, I was in honors English, and my teacher gave me an A on the poem. And I'm like, I got an A on a poem, a sonnet? Oh, my goodness. And she said it was really good. And I kept the poem in my yearbook, went off to school and did my thing. And when I started, remember I told you I was working and getting to go to law school and da-da-da, and one of my colleagues is a poet, and she came in my office, and I told her, I used to be a poet. And she said, you can't used to be a poet. I said, I haven't written poetry in years. And she said, well, what have you written? And I said, I got this sonnet that I wrote in high school back in 1972. She said, find it, bring it to me. So I found it. She said, oh, this is good. Type it up. We're going to go ahead and get the copyright done on it because you're going to submit this to poetry contest. I said, I wrote this when I was like 18 years old. Get out of here. Come on. What? Surely enough, I listened to her. It won the Golden Poet Award, and it was nominated for the Emily Dickinson Award. And it's the most published poem I've written by other people. So it's in several hardback anthologies. So sometimes people come into your life with messages, and it's up to us to listen to them or to negate them. And in my case, I listened, and because I did, you take a strike of faith and see what happens. And so that's how that happened. Back when I was in law school in '94, I dreamed that I woke up in Egypt in a pyramid, and I helped some people find the tomb of a woman. Nutshell. Woke up from the dream. I was just really shaken by it because it was incredible. It was vivid. It was like, oh my God, I think I was there. And because I had just finished my first year of law school, I'm very analytical, so I have a lot of questions about it, right? I'm on, who in the world was that and why and what? So I tried to write the dream down to document it because it was so vivid. And in the course of writing the documentation for the dream down, it turned into a poem, and it's called The Pharaoh's Queen. Who was this woman who invaded my slumber when she entered my mind in a dream? If her life had been as majestic as her tomb, she must have been a Pharaoh's queen. What was her name? When did she live? Did her death bring royal grief? Had she lived long and bore many sons, or was her life young and brief? Why was I there to find her tomb? How could I know the place? When they uncovered the magnificent sarcophagus, I trembled when I saw her face. Painted on the mighty wooden tomb was the most perfect work of art. Her face, her form, her look, her colors, all statements of an eternal part. Who was this woman, and why was I there to witness this solemn find? What can I do to make this right? How can I satisfy my mind? I can only say that eternity stopped, but for a brief moment to show that the Pharaoh's queen had lived and loved, and she wanted me to know. For thousands of years she lay in rest with no winds to blow or birds to sing, no sun, no moon, no light or air, no flowers on her grave, not anything. They dug a hole and put her there, then built walls behind which they hid, until the day I dreamed I came to find her kept deep in the mighty pyramid. I had no idea at the time that I wrote that poem that it was going to send me on a whole brand new journey. The journey started with the dream. The second step was writing the poem. The third step was sharing the poem with someone who was part of my story. That person was a psychologist from New Orleans, and he was in town, and I said, Bryant, I need to tell you this dream I had. And I wrote this poem. It's really incredible. I wrote it right after I had wrote this poem before I had breakfast that morning. So I told him the dream, and I read the poem to him, and he says, just because I'm a psychologist doesn't mean I know the answer to this question. I said, okay, What's the answer? He says, I'm from New Orleans. What do you think I'm going to say? I'm like, oh, here we go. I said, what are you going to say? He says, well, the dream, that was you. I said, how is it, what do you mean? He said, I believe the poem in the dream is you. I think you've come back. I think it's you. I think you're dreaming about yourself. Okay, lawyer kicks in. Where's the proof? You know, you got to prove it to me, you know. And I'm a psychology degree, so I'm open to some of this stuff, you know. And I studied parapsychology when I was an undergraduate many moons ago. And so I'm halfway like, yeah, you know, that kind of makes sense. And then the other half is saying, where's the proof? Show me. So anyway, he goes back to New Orleans. I'm in New Orleans later that summer, and I see him again, and he says, did you hear the news report about your queen? No, what queen? What are you talking about? I'm not thinking about the poem. He says, there was a news report. I was walking through the house, and they found your queen. Yeah, that's what I said. What? I said, what do you mean? How do you connect that to me? He said, they found a tomb of a woman in Saqqara, Egypt, in a place they hadn't expected to find anything. And immediately, I thought about you in your dream. I said, well, when did this happen? He said, it happened this spring when you were having your dream. Didn't I tell you it was you? I said, you lying, right? He said, I don't play like that, Linda. No, this is for real. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. I said, well, how can I find the story? He says, I don't know. Try the internet. I didn't even have internet at home. I had to wait to go back to school, go in the law library, and I'm up there in the middle of the night looking up pyramids and pharaohs and queens and tombs and not studying. 45 minutes into my search, this article comes up. The article answered my questions. The first line of the article was, her name was Najeta Impet, or Teet to her friends. The second line said, she lived more than 4,300 years ago, and her tomb was found outside the pyramid of Pharaoh Teti. What was her name? When did she live? Did her death bring royal grief? Those three questions were answered in the first two sentences of the article, and I had chills up my back. I'm like, oh my goodness, how did they know to answer my questions with this news article? The writer of the article continued to report that they weren't real certain who she was, but she must have been very important to the pharaoh because of her position in death. And she was the only woman in the cemetery area who had her own tomb. All the other people there were men, high-ranking officials of the pharaoh. And they weren't so sure that she was a queen because he had two queens of record and they had their own small pyramids. And when I read that part, something in my spirit said, yeah, but they way over there. They're over there somewhere. Girlfriend is right here at the footprint of his pyramid. He loved her. And there's a secret there that needs to be revealed. He didn't love them. If he did, they would have been closer to him, but they were over there. In 2005, I went to Egypt, and I went to Saqqara, and I went to the Pharaoh Teti's pyramid. I actually went into his burial chamber. It was the only pyramid in Saqqara that was open to the public. Imagine that when I got there. And I said to the tour guide, I said, where are the Pharaoh's queen's pyramids? And she said, look way over there. Way over there? Yeah, just like I thought. They were way over there. I said, how did they know that they already connected to him? Because of stuff they found in the pyramid, that they know that those were his queens. I said, well, where is Najeta Pet? Right there. See that thing right there? That's where her mastaba. That's how you go down to her mastaba, right there. Just what I thought. Right there. His pyramid is her tomb was inside his pyramid, but it was near it. And his pyramid is here. His chief of staff, his chief of state, and they called him his vizier, or vizier, was the first one. Then it was hers.